Well, hey guys, so today we're going to continue on with our web development stuff. We're going to be designing our web page for a for mobile. In this case, we're just going to be rearranging this. This is not necessary for the actual website itself. What this is mostly just giving you an idea, and also ultimately going to present an idea of like web design, like showing your client this is how it's going to look on desktop. This is how it's going to look on tablet. This is how it's going to look on a phone. The idea being that if you were to, go through the rigmarole of coding all this and then show them on the actual webpage, the actual demo, that would take some hours. In which case, you would have to go back and redesign it if they didn't like it. So you just show it to them, the design so far. I have this new document. I have it over here on mobile. And I'm just showing you a couple different shall we say, resolutions here. Right? We have all these different resolutions for our screens, for our phones and our tablets and stuff. We've got these different tablets here, like the Surface Pro, which is what I use, and then the iPad and a few other different things here, along with several different phones here. We've got the iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus. I imagine it's it hasn't been updated quite in a while, but the Android, as far as those go, these are all 9:16. These resolutions are. I want to say the 6 Plus is 9:16. This one here might not quite be the same resolution, but essentially, if you hold them like just flat, they have the sort of same aspect ratio as your average desktop computer, like your screens that you're using right now. It's a fit for HD video. The whole point is to show video in its full capacity without any black bars. But beyond that, designing for these things for iPads and stuff like that doesn't so much warrant looking at the way things are laid out, more so the size of them, because obviously you're on a different size screen. Different things need to be different sizes. But most importantly, the buttons have to be a different size. So think in terms of how big your buttons are as you're going through this, and we'll just sort of go through this real quick. I'll just close this out for now and go ahead and open up your web page. Now, if you did what I did and you dismissed all of your guides, we want to go ahead and bring those back. So let's go over here to View, where it says Guides. Click on Show Guides. And let's go over here to View Guides and make sure that your guides are unlocked. If you see Lock Guides, then they're already unlocked. But if you can't select them, like I cannot select my guides right now, go over here to Object and just say Unlock All, just in case. And you should be able to grab your guides, right? If not, then your guides are locked over here where it says Guides, Lock Guides. So make sure you can interact with your guides here. Okay, so let's go over here to our artboard tool. Artboard tool right here. I'm going to zoom out a good deal before I do anything else with the artboard tool. Let me just zoom out some. And I'm going to go over to the side here, and let's go ahead and make a new artboard. And we're going to make it a little bit narrower and a little bit longer, taller, shall we say. And it's going to be 768 pixels wide, and the height may change based on what kind of content you've got at the top here. So I'm just going to go ahead 768, right about there, and then I'm going to make another artboard, and it's going to be about 400 pixels wide. This is going to bring up some interesting difficulties in a second here, but we'll talk about those as we get to them. So let's just go ahead and get 400 pixels wide. Best you can there. If you can't get it by just navigating with your mouse, what you can do is go over here once you have your artboard selected, and under properties where it says artboard here, make sure that it just says 400. And so we'll just kind of leave that to the side here. What we can do real quick while we have our artboard tool kind of selected here, click on these different artboards. You can see that you've got the chance over here under properties to name the artboard. So I'm going to name this mobile, or rather tablet. And then over here, I'm going to call this, once again, so artboard 2, this should be called tablet, right? And then over here, this will be called mobile. And so I want to say if we get closer, you probably see that name. Shift O for your artboard tool, mobile. There you go. All right. Okay, so just having those kind of where they're at, that's fantastic. What's fun about Adobe is that you can select the different artboards you want to work on. Adobe Illustrator allows you to kind of manipulate for the various canvases you're working with without having to put them on different layers. So you can interact with the different artboards in different ways. All right, so let's go ahead and just sort of select the several of these guide lines here. You want to make sure you start, think of these as like, for instance, these two right here are a column, but the space between this right here is the gutter. Remember we talked about the gutter being the alleyway between areas of content. I'm just going to select this. Just make sure you end on one of the columns here. I think I've got it right about, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do 7. We'll go to the end of the 7th column here. And I'm just going to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to drag these across so they line up with my tablet artboard here. And I need a few more, so I'll grab these right here. I'll just sort of duplicate this one little guide to where it lands on the end here. All right, there you go. So that's good. Now the same thing is going to happen here, but remember how I said the 400 pixels is going to cause some problems? The problem is that it doesn't quite line up with our guide, but this is the sort of general design that they tend to ask people to use when it comes to this. But we're only going to choose 2 columns. And so what we'll do is we'll Alt drag these 2 columns here to the end. And all we'll do is just select these 2 guides here, making sure that that's the 30 pixel width there. And we're going to go Object and Group, and then we're going to select all 3 of these. So we have essentially we have 3 objects here. We've got 1, 2, which is a group, and then we have 3. These 3 objects here, making sure this one here is, and then we're going to distribute them evenly across the artboard, which we have. This one is highlighted black, so this is, we can see this, and we're just going to distribute the spacing vertically across the artboard here. So I want to say this is in the neighborhood of like 180 some odd pixels, and this right here is also in the neighborhood of 180 some odd pixels, because then we have 30 left over in the middle there. So this is going to be the grid we're going to use. Now, like I said before, the fun thing about coding a responsive web page, which we won't necessarily get into, is that you don't actually have to make these different websites. Once upon a time, it was necessary for you to create 2 separate websites. The website, for instance, for maybe this right here, would be something to the effect of like, let's look here, like maybe something like www. Oh, here we go. Let me try this text again. Maybe something like www.constructionsolutions.com. Let me just make that bigger and white. All right. All right. So it might be like, constructionsolutions.com, right? That would be like the site you visit on the desktop. Let me just turn that white real quick. And the site you visit on the mobile site, if you were to go to the mobile site on a phone, it would detect you're using a phone. And instead of saying the www, you would just say m.constructionsolutions.com, right? You would see a little M there. The m.websites were, handy for what they were back in the day when mobile, like web browsing, was still kind of new. Back when you were using your BlackBerry, if you recall what those are. But nowadays you can code for a responsive website. That means you only have one website to do maintenance on. The m.dot websites would oftentimes give you errors. So it's wonderful that you. But once again, what this is we're doing right now is simply just the idea we're going to present to our client. And so this is how it's going to look. Desktop is how it's going to look on a mobile site and stuff. All right, so essentially you can then obviously code for what things will show up where, but now we're just going to design them, and we'll bring them in here. So let's take a look at what we're going to do here. So first off, I like the size of my buttons up here, but I'm going to need a little more room to see them. So I'm going to just take this top bar here. So let's see if we can just select this top bar along with our search bar and everything else. Let's see if we can select this. Well, first off, let me go ahead and go to View, Guides, and lock our guides so we don't select the guides on accident. So I'm going to just select this top bar here, and I'm going to hold down Alt to drag it across here and just line up the edge with the edge right there. Okay. All right, so oftentimes what you'll see when you go to these mobile sites is that instead of having, say for instance, the entire menu, you'll have an abbreviated menu. And so you'll want to decide which ones are the most important things to put in. Now in this case, I want to say the most important things to have available for someone to click on would be the services and the shop, right? This is the thing that we want them to know. And if they want to know more, they can sort of click a little bit more, and we can abbreviate our little search and have it sort of drop down here. So let's go ahead and double click on our menu here, and let's shorten that menu up a little bit. Let's take away home, let's take away about us, and we'll get out of isolation mode, and we'll just grab these two here, and holding down shift while we drag, we'll just drag them back over this way, line them up with one of the columns there. And as far as this goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just shorten this thing here a little bit to where it's just sort of like hanging out there. And so when you tap on that with your thumb, that will then sort of expand it, maybe hide the menu, and then we'll just just make sure this goes along with it. First off, I'll just shorten this whole thing here, and then I'll just grab this. Let me grab all this. Control G that guy right there, and I'll just drag this guy. Hello. Right there. That looks good. Okay. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for the mobile site, but in this case we're going to collapse that down to even smaller. So I'm just going to drag this along, and if you have like a logo that's on the top, for the mobile site, you may want to think about either shrinking that down to say the corner, or shrinking it down to be a little less visible here. So what I'll do is I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to hold down Alt and drag this out until it lines up one corner with the other. And so I'm going to make my logo a good deal smaller here, just to fit in with what we're looking at here. And I might even make everything a bit smaller. I might make this a bit narrower. And instead of having, say for instance, a different choices, what I'll have is sort of a drop-down menu here. So I'm going to get real close here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little drop-down menu that's just going to say menu with a little kind of drop-down thing there. And then I'm just going to take my magnifying glass and I'll just put that to the side. I'll actually do away with the whole thing, the whole search box here for the mobile site. I'll just shrink this down a little bit, pop it in there, and I'll turn this white for now. Oops, what was that? Yeah. Okay, good. And then what we'll do for the menu here, let me just sort of center this with everything. I'm going to just grab my rectangle tool and do what we did before with our rectangle tool here. I did what we did before with our little slideshow controllers. I'll just draw a little rectangle here, grab the direct select tool, grab these last little points here and just drag it to the side until it's maybe like a 45-degree angle here. And then I'll just duplicate it by transform, reflect. Let's see here. Let's make sure we have this. I'll grab it, right hook, transform, reflect, copy, and just sort of pull these side by side to where they meet up at the corner there. Get real close. All right, that's good. Select these two. Go to our Pathfinder tool down here. Once again, if you don't see that window, Pathfinder, and we'll just click Unite, and we'll get our direct select tool here and round these corners a little bit. So that looks good. And then obviously we'll make that really tiny. Okay, and so this will be our little drop-down menu that we'll click on that icon. I might want to make that a bit bigger, just so I can see it better. I think I'm making it a bit thicker. And if you don't want to, go through the rigmarole of making a very adding to any thickness here, you can just add a stroke. We'll have a white stroke here, and we'll just pull it up maybe 2 points. All right, so there we go. That looks good. All right, so this will be our little drop down. So essentially, what they'll do is they'll click on that, and then a little drop down menu will kind of appear. Sometimes what you can do is you can add what they call a hamburger menu. A hamburger menu, essentially, the icon looks like this. It's just let me get the stroke to have like a rounded cap here. It's usually just 3 lines side by side, or one on top of another. The idea, it's like a minimalist hamburger, right? So that would be like the other icon you could use. So either a drop down menu like this, or hamburger menu like this. The difference being that with the drop down menu, you see the options kind of come down below. With the hamburger menu, essentially you get like basically the width of the top bar here suddenly extends down to the height of the device you're using, right? So that's 2 ways of doing this. I think I'll just keep the little drop down menu here for now. I'll get rid of this. So, all right. So this is our 2 little search bars here that we've got going on. That's great. Okay. I wonder if this needs to come in a little bit. Right, there we go. All right, good. Okay, so as far as the slideshow goes, with the tablet, we won't need these little controls, but we will need our text here. So let me go ahead and bring my text out. So I'll just first off grab the picture. I'll just grab everything here. I'll just grab it all, and I'll just Alt drag it over here. I'm see if I can center it to the artboard. So in this case, we don't really need to. I'll just also abut it up here, and then I'll just, once again on the Y, plus 30. Yeah, there we go. And we'll just see if we can't sort of have it sort of cropped to the center there. That works good. And I'm going to just get rid of these things. I'll shrink this inwards a little bit here. Actually, I'll hold down Alt while I do that so it shrinks in from the center and both ways. All right, there's nothing I didn't quite center it here. That's okay. I'll just pull this here. Same thing with this thing. I can just sort of pull this in on one side, pull it in on the other side. All right, actually doesn't do that. Okay, let's what we'll do is we'll just double click on this here. And I'll just sort of shrink this down a little bit. Well, you can always copy it. Let me grab here, clip group, Control D. All right, back this up. All right, let me just back this up for a second. Okay, so for this right here, what we'll need to do is this. We go Object, Clipping Mask, Release, and then we'll just draw another rectangle here on top of our artboard. So let me just draw this here. And I'll fill in with like gray, so we can kind of see it there. And we can resize this to kind of fit what we're looking at. We don't really need to resize it. We can just sort of crop it down a little bit. I might resize it a little bit. Just hold down Alt and you can center it while you resize it. Alt. Right. And then once again, click on the gray and then hold down Shift, click on that, and then Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And we want to put this to the back, Control Shift back there. And so once again, I'll just put this up here, plus 30. There's that. Okay, good. All right, and so I'll get rid of this little marker for our slideshow, and that'll be what we'll do for this. Now I might make this white here. I think looking at it now, it probably looks better white. And same thing here. I'll make this a different color. All right, so that's fine right there. For the next, for the mobile, we're going to want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and select everything here. Well, this is probably good for the tablet, but for the mobile, I'm going to drag all this way. I'll just drag it up and sort of push it up against here. A good sort of, I wouldn't say inspiration necessarily, but if you were, I was looking at the Target website. The Target website basically was the same image, but it was simply cropped into the center here. So let me just hold this down here. Get this. Okay, good. And I'll get a little closer here. we'll just plus 30. And instead of having these words here, let me just, I'll just put the button in the very center. And I might make it a bit bigger compared to the rest of the thing here. Let me just select this whole button, text, shadow. Let's go with this shadow here. I didn't do a good job on that. All right, that's good. All right, I'll just 1, 2, 3, select all those, Control G, and then we'll drag that to the center of this image here. Let me just, what we'll do for now is we'll, oops, cancel. Once again, drag a little square here. I'm going to make this actually just a perfect square. Hold on, Shift to make this a perfect square here. Well, maybe not a square, somewhere around there. So obviously, whatever it is you want to do, you can kind of look at that. And for this right here, I'm just going to click on my picture in the background, Object, Clipping Mask, Release, and then grab the square, hold down Shift, grab the image, Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And so that'll be hitting. Let me try this one more time. Right, hold on, Shift, grab this. Both of these are at the same time here. 1, 2. Oh. Make sure you just have those two selected. Object, Clipping Mask, Make. If you need to make your objects a bit further apart so you can see them better, that's always good too. All right, I'll just Control Shift back there. I'll just drag this up into the center of this mask I got going on. And I'll put this front and center. I'll make this a bit bigger here, just because it's gonna need to be bigger, you know, in comparison to the rest of it here. I'm not sure I need this. All right, I'll just resize this guy to fit. All right, that's probably good right there. Wider. Okay. All right. All right. Here we go. Okay, so we've got that. Obviously, if you want to, like, you know, lower it down some to show what's behind it, that's fine. I think it's sort of put in there pretty well as it is. All right. So once again, we're just sort of rearranging things that's going to fit what we've got here. So as far as the text goes, let's go ahead and probably keep this the same size as we drag this across. And I'm going to, well, I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this right here. Take my text tool here and just select all this, copy this. Oops. Come over to the mobile site here, to the tablet site. I'll draw my own little rectangle. And then take my text tool here, click inside of it, on the edge, Control V. And obviously you can see now that it's sort of resized, as it were. I'll just shorten this up a little bit. And I'll do the same thing. I'll just push this right up against there and then plus 30 to the Y value to separate it out. And then we'll do the same thing over here for our mobile site. Let me drag this. Let me grab a little square here. And we'll do our text tool, click on the outside of it, on the edge, fill it up, and then Control V. And you know, you can just add some manual line breaks if you want here. So everything you need, leasing option, and heavy machinery. I might actually just do this number here where I don't hyphenate. So let me just select everything here. Go to my paragraph. If you don't see that, once again, window, character, I want to say, is what we're looking at. The character, or this is under properties here. It should be visible here. But you click on the more options there, you can just click on the little hyphenate button, so it won't hyphenate. I'm going to actually justify this. Just justify it into the center. There we go. All right, so it's kind of chilling out there. All right, that's good. So we can see everything. That's fantastic. All right, good. So now let's take a look at our images here. Essentially, the images, what we want to do is we want to make sure they're very visible. These buttons need to be very visible everything on the mobile site, so they're going to be scaled up a little bit. But for the tablet site, it should be simple enough. Just grab the first two, drag it across, and you can resize them slightly to be a bit bigger appearing. Oops. Just Alt select once. And hopefully it'll line up. That's good. And I'm just gonna grab this one right here, drag it to this edge. And we'll have two side by side here, so let me just grab all this. I'll just resize this to where it meets right there in the center, like so. And the same thing here. Let me get a little closer. I'll grab this, drag to the edge, make sure it meets up right there in the center. Okay, this is not quite lined up. Is there something to do with my mask here? Alright, that's good. Oh, cancel. Okay. We'll just sort of line all this up. Once again, Gestalt kind of dictates that we want to make sure everything's lined up well. Alright, that looks good. Make it a bit bigger. Alright, so just make sure your buttons are the same height. They line up on all sides here. That's good. And this should be centered. Alright, like so. Alright, good. Okay, cool. Alright. And then we'll do the same thing with the other two here. Just grab these guys and Alt drag them down here. Now just grab this group here. I won't Alt drag it, I'll just drag it to the edge. And let's make sure they're lined up properly. This should be one thing. I'll just pull this up here. Plus 30 to the Y value. Try that one more time. Plus 30. Oh my goodness. Plus 30. All right. And then we'll just resize this to where it'll meet right there in the center. And then same thing here. I'll pick this up, pop it up there. Add 30. And then resize it to where it meets in the center. All right, good. And they look like they line up pretty well. All right, great. All right, so this will be what we look at when we look at it on a tablet. Things are a little bit bigger because we're on a smaller screen, or at least we're probably viewing it at a different sort of aspect ratio, more vertical than we are horizontal. Let me actually just do one thing here. I'm just going to grab everything because I didn't push this across from the... so let me just Control Shift, hold on, Shift and click on that, and then I'll just add 30 to all this to give it some space between the text and everything. And I might have to add some length to my artboard here, looks like. All right, so if you want to add some length to your artboard, just click on your artboard tool, and you can just sort of drag that down some. Very good. Which makes me think I'm going to have to add a significant more space here for the mobile site. We'll see. Let's take a look. All right, so essentially we're just going to one by one grab these guys and drag them across to the mobile site here. So let me just drag this right here, and I'll just Alt drag this to the text so it butts up against the text there. Then I'll make it big enough to fit the whole screen. And I'll just add 30 to its Y position. And then we'll do the same thing for the others here. So I just want to make sure that button's really nice and big on the mobile site. It should be the biggest thing they see on the mobile site. Now, this is case in point, this is not necessarily the exact width of your screen, but it's going to be what they see. You might have some stuff on the edge. The whole idea is this is what we see. We don't necessarily want to put in the margins for the website. The margins will kind of take care of themselves with the browser. So they might have some padding on the side. So you go all the way to the edge. That's totally fine. All right, close in here. Alt drag this over there. And you kind of get what's going on now, so you should basically be good to go. But I'll just finish this up. And all right. Okay, very neat. Fantastic. Good. All right, so this is essentially, let me just go ahead and view hide guides. So you kind of compare and contrast, and if you look at these things, you can kind of take a look at a couple of different things here. Let me just make sure I have this space here between my text and my slideshow. Just one time here. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm just going to add 30 to that Y value there just to give it some space. All right, good. So just kind of review it and just think to yourself, like, how is this gonna show up? Is my logo, like, you think about, for instance, if you had a logo that was above your margin there, how much space would that take up on the screen? Because this is obviously not what you're gonna see. You're just gonna see, let me just draw a little thing here. Let me just draw like a rectangle here. Imagine this is your phone screen. This right here is your phone screen, and all your website visitor is going to see is what's inside this like little phone screen here, right? So maybe a little bit smaller, just a little smidgen, like that or so. So if, like, when they first get to the site and all they see, right? If all they see for like the first half is just the logo with nothing to click on, they might just kind of like say, okay, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here. This is kind of confusing. And they might just leave your site. So you really want the most prominent thing on your site to be something for them to do. In that case, it's the call to action, shop now, whatever it is you're doing, right? And so this is, and then a little information of what they're going to buy. So whatever it is you're doing, if it's a shoe store, so like, look at our shoes. If it's a restaurant, like, come check out our menu, or order your food right now. If it's something that, obviously, whatever it is you're like, it needs to be apropos to whatever it is you're doing. But the whole point is that you want to make sure that not only do you rearrange things, but you also sort of adjust the user experience. The word that you always hear for that is UX design. UX design is design that's specifically meant for the user experience. Everybody's got a UX design element to it. Every little thing that you ever do with a computer or a video game always has someone working on the user experience. If it's not an enjoyable user experience, people aren't going to want to use it. All right. So just once you have all this done, just go ahead and save this. You can save this from the same site, same document as you had before. But when you export it, you say, let's go ahead into, whoops, watch it crash. Go ahead, export for screens. And where it's going to give you the ability to, oh, here we go, cancel. Let me just, where'd it go? Where's all that shop tools? Huh. That's weird. Oh, I see. Let me just deselect everything. Oh, I added a new artboard, didn't I? Let me see here. Artboards. I added a new artboard. Yeah, accidentally. Let's look here. Edit artboards. Artboard options. Alright, I don't want that fourth artboard. The series artboard here. Let me move this out of the way. All right, yeah, I had the artboard tool activated. Okay, so once again, I'll get rid of this too. Okay, undo that. So when you export for screens, you have the option of exporting separate artboards. So go ahead and export for screens, and you can export your tablet and your mobile, and they'll go to the same folder. So in this case, it's going to go to my pictures, so I can just kind of see that right here. If I want to go to my web page, I just have it there, just select folder there and export artboard. It's going to take a moment here. As soon as I go there, you're going to look for this little site here. So you have your mobile and you'll have your tablet all set up, and you can turn these in as two separate files into the Dropbox. All right, well, very cool. Cannot wait to see your sites. Cannot wait to see you guys produce. See you in class.